He thought he'd found silence in the desert, until he heard a baby crying beneath the sand. That moment would change his life, and the fate of the last Apache mother left alive. He knew stepping forward meant danger, but walking away would mean losing his soul. Watch till the end to uncover how Sam risked everything to save an Apache woman and her child. Tell us where you're watching from. Join our Sleep West family, and let's ride into the story.
The Arizona sun, a molten coin in the vast bleached sky, punished the earth of the Tonto Basin in the late spring of 1888. Sam Boone, a man whose lean frame suggested more tenacity than brute force, rode his bay mare across land that demanded respect and gave none back. His spread, the Hollow Creek claim, was a meager success carved out of the wilderness, a quiet, dusty sanctuary built with the sweat of his brow and the memory of a wife he'd lost to the eastern sickness. He was a rancher, not a hero, seeking only the solitude the desert offered. He was checking a dry wash near the jagged, ominous silhouette of Vulture Rock when a strange, distant sound snagged his attention. It wasn't the wind or the rattle of a sidewinder. It was a rhythmic, guttural cry, desperately muffled, followed by the faint, high-pitched whine of a child. Sam pulled his mare up short, the leather bridle creaking. He drew his Winchester rifle, its familiar weight a momentary comfort, and followed the sound on foot, his spurs clicking quietly against the sun-baked gravel. He crested a low juniper-studded ridge and froze. Below him, in a scooped-out depression of the hard-pan earth, was a scene of calculated, cold-blooded malice. A woman, clearly Apache by her dark braids and traditional tunic, was buried up to her neck in the packed soil. Her eyes, wide and brilliant with pain and sheer will, were fixed on a small bundle next to her, an infant, barely a year old, also partially interred, weeping a raw, exhausted sound. The fresh tracks around them told the story. A small posse had done this, dispensing not justice, but a sadistic warning. Sam's jaw clenched. The local terror was the self-styled regulator Cyrus Gage and his crew, men who saw Apache presence as an affront, and whose hatred was as deep as the desert wells were dry. They operated under the thin veneer of a government contract, but their real currency was fear. Just as Sam took a step, a flicker of movement on the high ridge overlooking the basin caught his eye. A lone, black-silhouetted horseman sat motionless, watching the scene. Sam's blood ran cold. He had been seen. He had a choice: ride out and save his own life, or intervene and accept the consequences. He looked at the woman's defiant, unwavering eyes, and the infant's vulnerable, heart-wrenching sob shattered his caution. He dropped his rifle, letting the noise of the sliding metal serve as a distraction, and rushed down the ridge, grabbing his folding spade from his saddlebag. "Don't speak," he ordered, dropping to his knees. The woman's dark eyes locked onto his, a profound skepticism mixed with a fragile hope. "They will return," she rasped, her voice dry and strained. "The one they call Gage." Sam didn't reply, already driving the spade into the concrete like dirt. His hands immediately blistered, but he dug with a furious, desperate rhythm. He scooped out the space around the child first, gently lifting the dust-coated, feather-light bundle. He pulled the infant close, a girl he saw, and held her against his denim chest. She immediately quieted, her small hand clutching the collar of his shirt. He turned to the woman, hacking and prying at the dense earth. Finally her shoulders were free. She exploded upward, shedding the heavy dirt, her movements powerful and fluid. She was tall, marked by the desert but unbroken. She took the child from Sam's arms, holding her close, a fierce tenderness washing over her face. "I am Enola," she said, her voice stronger now. "And this is my daughter, Ayana." "Sam Boone," he replied, pointing to the silent horseman on the ridge. Someone was watching. "We need to move now." Enola saw the distant watcher, an understanding passing between them. "That is Nayeli, a guardian. She is to observe, not engage. They wanted us to die slowly for the message. Nayeli's report is all they wait for. Then let's give them a new message, Sam said, retrieving his rifle and spade. The Hollow Creek claim is a few hours west. It's built for defense. Enola nodded, a flicker of shared resolution passing between them. With Ayanna safely bundled against her chest, Enola followed Sam toward his horse. The silent guardian on the ridge melted away, leaving them alone, with the long, ominous shadows of the late afternoon. Sam led them through the quickly cooling air, the sun slipping behind the horizon. The journey was tense and silent, punctuated only by the soft cries of the infant. He felt the weight of the decision he had made. He had not just saved 2 lives, he had invited the relentless violence of Cyrus Gage into his quiet world. They arrived at the Hollow Creek claim, a single sturdy stone cabin, and a small fenced corral. The air here was scented with dry earth, and the distant familiar comfort of wood smoke. Sam immediately ushered them inside the small, secure cabin. "I have food and water," Sam said, pulling down a bucket of fresh water from a pulley system and an iron kettle for heating. "Gage will send men before dawn. He's too arrogant to believe I'd be a threat, but too meticulous to leave a loose end." Enola set Ayanna down gently on a bedroll near the small stone fireplace. Her hands were steady as she checked the infant. "They will track the mare and the fresh digging. Gage's scout is clever. He'll have to come through the yard first," Sam stated, checking the bolts on the heavy wooden door. Enola's eyes, bright and intelligent, scanned the cabin's interior. "This stone, it will not burn quickly." "That is good, but we have only your rifle." Sam moved to a loose floorboard near the hearth, a hiding place known only to him. He pulled up the plank and revealed a pair of items, a well-maintained heavy Sharps cavalry carbine, and a battered but sharp Bowie knife that had belonged to his father. He offered the knife and the carbine to Enola. "I can handle the Winchester," he said, the weight of the heavier carbine feeling more natural in her hands. Enola took the weapons. She ran a careful thumb over the knife's edge and checked the breech of the carbine, the flicker of surprise replaced by a quiet respect. "You trust an Apache woman with the heavy iron. I trust a mother with the only way to keep her child safe," Sam replied simply. The night deepened. They ate silently, sharing a tin of dried beans and hard tack. Enola told Sam that she and Ayanna were making a dangerous trek to meet her husband's family, deep in the inaccessible canyons, a journey cut short by Gage's patrol. Sam spoke little, only of the quiet dignity of his own family's small ranching life, and the reason he sought solitude. Just before the first faint wash of gray light touched the horizon, a series of low rhythmic whistles reached the cabin, the signal of a careful coordinated approach. "3 riders," Enola whispered, her ear pressed to the packed dirt floor. "They are splitting up to circle the cabin. They want to be sure." Sam nodded, his heart hammering in his chest, yet his hands were steady. "The corral is next to the largest outcropping of rock. I'll make for it. I draw the fire. You take the one who tries to flank." Enola moved Ayanna to a secure position under the hearth, bundling her carefully. "You take the one in the center," she countered, her voice low and decisive. "You know the range of your rifle better than I know this one. I will use the shadow to take the flanks." The time for hesitation was over. Sam threw open the cabin door and sprinted toward the corral, the Winchester up and ready. The 3 riders materialized from the pre-dawn shadows, led by a man whose cold, narrow eyes confirmed Sam's fear, Cyrus Gage. "Sam Boone," Gage yelled, his voice ringing with contempt. "You made a poor choice. Hand over the squaw and we'll leave your carcass for the vultures." Sam dropped behind the heavy stone outcropping next to the corral fence. "She's not going anywhere, Gage. You leave this land now." Gage merely laughed, a grating, humorless sound. The 3 men began to spread out, Gage moving directly toward the cabin, his 2 men riding fast to flank Sam's position. Sam fired the Winchester, aiming for the legs of Gage's horse. The shot went wide, kicking up a spray of dirt near the animal's hooves. The rider on the far right, a younger man, returned fire, his bullet whining off the rock near Sam's head. Just then, a flash of movement. Enola, having slipped out the back of the cabin, was using the deep shadows along the fence line. The Sharps carbine barked once, a deep resounding thrum. The young flanking rider screamed and tumbled from his saddle, clutching a shattered shoulder. "She has heavy iron," one of the men yelled, pulling up short. The element of surprise was gone. Gage roared in fury, spinning his horse. He aimed his rifle directly at Sam. Before he could pull the trigger, Enola fired a second time, not at Gage, but at the lantern hanging near the cabin door. The lantern exploded, engulfing the porch in a momentary blinding flare of fire and smoke. In the confusion, Sam bolted from cover, sprinting to a stack of firewood near the stone well. He drew the focus of Gage's third man, who opened fire, forcing Sam to drop behind the low stack. "Take the flank. I'll cover," Sam yelled to Enola. Enola, moving with the preternatural speed of a veteran scout, disappeared around the rear of the cabin, carrying the carbine like an extension of her arm. She didn't seek a clean shot. She sought control. She aimed and fired a shot that struck the ground near the hooves of the third man's horse. The animal, terrified by the sound and the flare of fire, reared wildly, throwing its rider. The man hit the ground hard, his rifle skittering away. Now it was 1 against 1. Sam against Cyrus Gage. Gage dismounted, his face a mask of cold fury and disbelief. "You think you can fight my law, Boone? You die here." He rushed the firewood stack, intent on flushing Sam out. Sam waited until the last possible moment, the sound of Gage's heavy boots filling his ears, and then rolled to the side, firing. The shot caught Gage not in the chest, but in the thick leather of his gun belt, sending a blinding, jarring pain through his hip. Gage staggered back, clutching his side, his rifle dropping from his hand. Enola stepped into the light, the sharps leveled at the fallen regulator. "No more," she stated, her voice calm and absolute. "Your message has been delivered, Gage. Go, and tell your men that this land belongs to the people who fight for it." The fallen men, humbled and in pain, struggled to their feet and helped the limping, defeated Gage onto his horse. Gage's eyes met Sam's, promising a venomous return, before he turned and led his broken posse away from Hollow Creek. As the sun finally rose, casting long, triumphant shadows across the basin, Sam and Enola stood on the porch, watching the retreating riders become tiny specks on the horizon. The cabin was safe. Sam looked at Enola, a weary smile touching his lips. "I think we bought ourselves some time." Enola nodded, handing him the empty carbine. "We found a friend, Sam Boone. Naley will report that the regulators were defeated by the land itself." She walked to the hearth, where Ayanna was now stirring, and letting out a quiet, healthy morning gurgle. Enola scooped her up, and the sight of the mother and child bathed in the soft morning light filled Sam with a deep, quiet sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. He had fought not for gold or territory, but for the simple, profound right to live without fear. "We go to the canyons in a few days," Enola stated, turning to him. "But first, we teach you how to scout, and you teach me how to keep this stone house a fortress." "Sounds like a fair trade, Enola," Sam replied, the scent of gunpowder and sage mixing in the air. He began the quiet work of repairing the fence and stacking the firewood. The fight was a promise of a harder future, but for this day, under the vast Arizona sky, the three of them, the resilient rancher, the watchful mother, and the protected child, had found not just sanctuary, but a new, defiant beginning. As the scent of coffee drifted from the cabin mixing with the sharp, clean air of the desert morning, Sam drove the last nail into a repaired fence post. He watched Enola standing beside the well, testing the weight of the Bowie knife in her hand. His solitude was gone, replaced by a found family and a purpose firmer than the stone of his cabin walls. Enola walked over to him, her expression serious. "My husband Sam was a brave man," she said quietly, looking toward the distant canyons. "But Gage's men found us a moon ago before the digging. Sam rode into the high pass to draw them, so Ayanna and I could escape. He did not return." She paused, her voice hardening with resolve. "The journey to his family is too far now, and the trackers know the route. We need a sanctuary." She met Sam's eyes not with affection, but with the clear, direct gaze of a strategist. "You saved 2 lives. Now you need defense, and Ayanna needs a father who can fight. We will not find peace alone. I am done running. I will share this land with you, Sam Boone, and we will turn this Hollow Creek claim into a real home." Marry me. The proposal was not born of love yet, but of respect and absolute necessity. It was a vow of defiance, a promise to stand against the world together. Sam looked down at the repaired fence, then back at Enola, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. You finally had a reason to build, a reason to fight, and a family to protect. Sounds like the best damn offer I've ever had, Enola, he replied, taking her hand, a handshake that sealed a contract, a partnership and a future. We start building at dawn, in a territory that tried to divide everyone by blood and hatred. Their defiant stand had forged a bond of shared survival, proving that courage, necessity and a simple, honest vow could indeed plant a seed of peace and a new life in the harshest ground.